Yes. This next clip that you're about to see is a game that my dad decided to put together based on our pastor doing something similar to it in a church service a couple months ago. It is called the Dad Joke Challenge. Two people sit down and they're read a series of dad jokes where their goal is to try and not laugh. I was not very good at this, as you'll see later on, but hopefully you'll enjoy it and laugh more than any of us did. So here it is.
All right, you guys know the rules.
Hi, Granny.
You're laughing already.
I just wanted to do that.
You're gonna see what's up here. All right, you ready? I like telling dad jokes. Sometimes he laughs. To whoever stole my copy of Microsoft Office, I will find you. You have my word. I used to work in a shoe recycling shop. It was soul destroying. Elliott's pretty close to losing. My boss told me to have a good day, so I went home. Kaylin's coming up from behind. She's trying hard not to. I'm so good at sleeping, I can do it with my eyes closed. Spring is here. I got so excited, I wet my plants.
Ellie laughed first.
Hey friends, we're so glad that you're able to join us and watch this video. We are coming to you today, the Stevens family, and we just want to say hello. It's a challenging time for all of us. It is a unique time during this COVID-19 perspective, and as we hit April of this year, there's more and more communication coming out that's talking about what might happen from stay-at-home orders to quarantines, and helping our system stay healthy. So we're thankful that you're able to join us. Carissa, we wanted to do something here because we think it's important to share hope, right?
Yes.
How have you been feeling lately?
I kind of feel like a roller coaster. Many days I feel very hopeful and thankful for the freedoms that we have and the food that we can still buy and our amazing homes that we have to be in with our families, and usually very thankful for the healthcare workers and the first responders that are out there fighting COVID every day. You guys are awesome and superheroes, and I'm so thankful for you. But there are some days where I'm just overwhelmed with sadness and grief and grieving some things that we thought would be able to happen. Sometimes scared of the unknown and the uncertainties that are present right now. And so I find myself when I let myself sometimes just feeling overwhelming sadness. And so I really have to be careful about my perspective and remember where my hope does lie. And my hope is not in this world. My hope is in the Lord. And I'm so thankful that I have Jesus to look to, because Josh, I can't imagine going through this and not having that eternal hope. And so I'm thankful for that hope. So it's been a challenge for me. How about you?
I think it's very true, you know, that we go on this roller coaster of ups and downs, especially with the ever-changing climate, the ever-changing rules and restrictions, and what are people saying, what are people doing, the differences of opinions by health professionals, and just reading the news. It's
I don't.
So those are things that make us go on that roller coaster. And so today I just want to share briefly just a quick thing about hope, and the first thing is this is from a quote from G.K. Chesterton, and I thought this quote was extremely important as we talk about hope, and this is what he says. He says, "Hope is the power of being cheerful in circumstances that we know to be desperate."
Oh, wow. Can you read that again?
Hope is the power of being cheerful in circumstances that we know to be desperate. I think, what do you think about that?
We are definitely in desperate times right now. Yeah. I think that quote really summarizes an outlook that we can have. Like, we can choose to still be cheerful even though we're in desperate times.
And that is a choice to be cheerful. And so over the next 30 days, we want to share with you some messages of hope. We want to share with you some stories of hope and what that looks like. And so we encourage you to reply in the comments. If you have a story that you want to share or you think would be a great one to share, reply in the comments and let us know what that might be. And we'll get in touch with you and figure out how to share these messages of hope. We think it's super important to do that because hope is powerful. Hope is so powerful that we'll be bringing other quotes from other famous people and about how hope affected them and impacted their lives. But today's quote, hope is the power of being cheerful in circumstances that we know to be desperate, is an important one. And so, Carissa, we don't have it all together.
No, we are very far from having it together.
Our emotions sometimes are like the Indiana weather.
Yes.
Like we're happy one moment, angry and frustrated the next, and sad and crying and happy. I mean, Indiana, it's the greatest state to experience all 4 seasons in one day.
Yes, that is true.
So, and we know that your emotions might be similar, and we just want to encourage you in this. Like, it's okay. This is new for the worldwide community. This experience is new for everybody, and it's okay to feel and experience the emotions that you're going through, and learn. Many of us need to learn or relearn how to process and handle those emotions and deal with that. So,
I think it's, many of us, you're saying having to relearn, and I agree. And the reason I agree with that is because our society in the U.S. has been so fast-paced. We've just been go, go, go from one thing to the next that we don't even take time to think and process and feel many times. And this pandemic that we're in right now has caused us all to stop. And with that stopping, we're suddenly feeling and we're experiencing emotions, and we don't have all the distractions that we've had in the past to keep us from feeling all of the things that our bodies and our minds and our emotions are feeling. And so we are having to relearn, because many of us are in a season where we're slowing down and pausing and having to stop.
That's very true. And so we'll be talking about that. How do we interact with and feel our emotions? There's great resources online, and so we want to let you know, check those out, but also make sure you're checking out a helpful resource, because there are also many resources that aren't so helpful. And as you sift through the news, I saw a publication from the World Health Organization. So the World Health Organization actually posted a publication on mental health in this climate and during COVID-19 and how to maintain mental health. And one of the points in it said, only check the news once or twice a day.
That's good advice.
It's super good advice. And so there's a variety of places that you can find helpful information from. And so check that out online. And we just want to let you know that we're here. We just want to be a positive voice, an encouraging word, and give you a place of hope from our family to yours during this time. So thank you for spending your time with us today.
This is Storytime with my dad, Joshua Stevens.
Stories are awesome. They convey so many different messages and emotions. And so here's story time today. This comes from a folk tale from India that teaches us about perspective. Long ago, 6 old men lived in a village in India. Each was born blind. The other villagers loved the old men and kept them away from harm. Since the blind men could not see the world for themselves, they had to imagine its wonders. They listened carefully to the stories told by travelers to learn what they could about life outside the village. The men were curious about many of the stories they heard, but they were most curious about elephants. They were told that elephants could trample forests, carry huge burdens, and frighten young and old with their loud trumpet calls. But they also knew that the Raja's daughter rode an elephant when she traveled in her father's kingdom. Would the Raja let his daughter get near such a dangerous creature? The old men argued day and night about elephants. An elephant must be a powerful giant, claimed the first blind man. He had heard stories about elephants being used to clear forests and build roads. No, you must be wrong, argued the second blind man. An elephant must be graceful and gentle if a princess is to ride on its back. You're wrong. I've heard that an elephant can pierce a man's heart with its terrible horn, said the third blind man. Please, said the fourth blind man, you are all mistaken. An elephant is nothing more than a large sort of cow. You know how people exaggerate. I'm sure that an elephant is something magical, said the fifth blind man. That would explain why the Raja's daughter can travel safely throughout the kingdom. I don't believe elephants exist at all, declared the sixth blind man. I think we are the victims of a cruel joke. Finally, the villagers grew tired of all the arguments, and they arranged for the curious men to visit the palace of the Raja to learn the truth about elephants. A young boy from their village was selected to guide the blind men on their journey. The smallest man put his hand on the boy's shoulder. The second blind man put his hand on his friend's shoulder, and so on until all six men were ready to walk safely behind the boy who would lead them to the Raja's magnificent palace. When the blind men reached the palace, they were greeted by an old friend from their village who worked as a gardener on the palace grounds. Their friend led them to the courtyard. There stood an elephant. The blind men stepped forward to touch the creature that was the subject of so many arguments. The first blind man reached out and touched the side of the huge animal. An elephant is smooth and solid like a wall, he declared. It must be very powerful. The second man put his hand on the elephant's limber trunk. An elephant is like a giant snake, he announced. The third blind man felt the elephant's pointed tusk. I was right, he decided. This creature is as sharp and deadly as a spear. The fourth blind man touched one of the elephant's four legs. What we have here, he said, is an extremely large cow. The fifth blind man felt the elephant's giant ear. I believe an elephant is like a huge fan, or maybe a magic carpet that can fly over the mountaintops and treetops. The sixth blind man gave a tug on the elephant's coarse tail. Why, this is nothing more than a piece of old rope. Dangerous indeed, he scoffed. The gardener led his friends to the shade of the tree. Sit here and rest for the long journey home, he said. I will bring you some water to drink. While they waited, the six blind men talked about an elephant. An elephant is like a wall, said the first blind man. Surely we can all agree on that. A wall? An elephant is like a giant snake, answered the second blind man. It's a spear, I tell you, insisted the third blind man. I'm certain it's a giant cow, said the fourth blind man. Magic carpet, there's no doubt, said the fifth blind man. Don't you see, pleaded the sixth blind man. Someone used a rope to trick us. Their argument continued, and their shouts grew louder and louder. Wall, snake, spear, cow, carpet, rope. Stop shouting, called the angry voice. It was the Raja, awakened from his nap by a noisy argument. How can each of you be so certain you are right? Asked the ruler. The six blind men considered the question, and then, knowing the Raja to be very wise, they decided to say nothing at all. The elephant is a very large animal, said the Raja kindly. Each man touched only one part. Perhaps if you put the parts together, you will see the truth. Now let me finish my nap in peace. When their friend returned to the garden with the cool water, the six men rested quietly in the shade, thinking about the Raja's advice. He is right, said the first blind man. To learn the truth, we must put all the parts together. Let's discuss this on the journey home. The first blind man put his hand on the shoulder of the young boy who would guide them home. The second put his hand on his friend's shoulder, and so on, until all 6 men were ready to travel together. What an awesome story on perspective. I encourage you during this time, as you think about hope, is to put your story together with someone else's. To gain perspective on what's happening, on how you can experience joy, hope, love, faith, how you can choose to be cheerful, how you can also experience and feel sadness, isolation, loneliness. But together, we can gain the perspective where we can have hope in this time, in these days.
Checking her arm.
There's something on my sleeve.
That shall be our intro clip. There's something on my sleeve.
right. All right, you can just hit record whenever you're ready.
Oh, I already did like
Okay,
20
good,
seconds
good.
ago.
So, hello everyone. We're so excited to be able to join you this way, and we'll cut that.
That was awful.
Do I look at you or the camera?
You can look at the camera and
Look
before
at
I
me.
look at there. So hopefully the wind and the woodpecker and stuff. We'll have to figure out what kind of equipment. Kaylin, scoot over. No, this way a little bit. All right. I want to make sure that is good.
Do 10 seconds and run over here.
He has a button on his watch that he's wearing.
All right. So on the count of 3, everybody needs to look in the camera and say hello. Like wave your hands, smile real big. All right.
Hello. Smile.
1, 2, 3.
Hello.
Let's just keep that intro. Yes.
Let's try it again.
No.
Yes. Say hi or hello or hey and wave. Say 1, 2, 3.
Hello.